everybody. Welcome again to another video from Lithero. My name is Nyron Burke, co-founder and CEO. If this is your first time checking out one of our videos, thank you for visiting, and we hope that we have something interesting and that you can learn something today. Really excited about what we're talking about today because I have Rachel Kane, our amazing VP of Customer Experience, and the topic of the day, which I'm super excited to talk about, is how to manage people when trying AI. People is one of our core values. It's a key part of what we do at Lithero. We are a tech company that's people focused. And so this is a topic that we are passionate about and that our customers are also asking about. And so very thrilled to have Rachel here to share all of her wonderful experience and expertise, both from before Lithero and at Lithero. She is just a maiden of people experience and leadership and change management. So excited, Rachel. Welcome. Thank you for talking to us today about how to manage people when trying AI. So why don't you start us off? What do you have to say on this wonderful topic about how to manage people? What have you learned?
Oh my goodness, what haven't I learned? No, this is really exciting. I love when people light up of the idea of AI, and then I love it even more when they light up when they see that it works and what it can do for them. So that is very exciting. And how do you make that happen, right? How do you make those people light up? I think about it in phases.
Okay.
So there's typically the upfront like readiness planning phase. Once you've come up with the idea that you want to try AI and you've decided how and what use cases you have to apply it for, you start planning.
Okay.
Right? Start planning.
Makes
That's
sense.
kind of where you start. And then you want to see if it works. And you want to see if it works in real life, in real situations with your people, right? And in your organization. So that's when you pilot.
Okay.
And then lastly, hopefully, right, you're seeing the results that you've expected.
Right.
You've proven the business case and the value, and you want to scale it.
Okay.
And you think about how do you engage people during the scaling phase. And so that's kind of how I think about it.
Okay. So it sounds like what you're saying is the people are all throughout everything you're doing, but there might be different ways of thinking about it. Planning phase, how you're engaging people, pilot phase, how you're engaging people, and scaling phase, how you're engaging people.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. So that's cool because that makes it easier to talk about, right? So let's part one, right? I'm an exec. I'm at an agency or I'm at a pharma company and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this cool AI thing. What do I have to think about? I might be thinking about like, do I have enough money, right? But in terms of talk to us about sort of the people side, because I'm a tech guy, right? So I might not be thinking about the people side, right? Maybe I'm in IT or something like that. What do I have to be thinking about if I'm planning that's focused on the people?
Yep. So for planning your AI initiative, I would first gather the right players on your team, right? So you're about to go into this game, right?
Okay.
It's about to start. The buzzer's about to go off.
Sure.
Do you have the right people in the right roles identified?
So almost building your team?
Yeah, the team
Okay.
of decision makers, even more specifically, right?
Okay.
So at the end of the day, we all know a lot of larger, mid-sized organizations have consensus decision making.
Sure,
So they
sure.
have a lot of people that need to be involved
Yeah.
in decision making.
Yeah. Nobody's like that, right?
You don't want to get too far down
Right.
the path
Right. You gotta gather them all. Right.
and then have to backtrack and get people
Right.
up to speed.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So identifying that you have all of those decision makers ready to go, you know what cross-functional teams they represent, what executive levels they represent, let's say, whoever they may be, okay? Legal department, procurement department, finance, the person leading this that wanted it in the first place for their team, all of them.
Are we trying to get them all together in a room, or is it more, hey, let me go engage this group, and let me engage this group, and engage this group? Like how am I doing this?
Yeah, so first, whoever is, thinking up, hey, for my team, I want to leverage this AI. I feel like this is a good opportunity for me. Okay, let's identify who would be involved in that decision, right? Who's the wallet holder, who's the budget holder, who's procurement leader. Just identify them. Just write them on a piece of paper.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Whiteboard those
Right.
names.
Right. Okay.
And then pretty much do a RACI. So amongst
Good
those
old racing.
leaders,
Yeah.
exactly, set expectations, but you can't set expectations unless you know how they need to be engaged and when. Okay.
And you can't know that if you don't talk about it.
Exactly.
Right.
So we have all their names, we have all their roles defined, and we now know who's accountable at the end of the day, who's responsible, who just needs to be made informed along the way.
Sure.
Once you've thought through that, now you start reaching out to them, and yes, you can get them all on a conference call, you can get them all in a meeting, 30 minutes max, present them your idea and the RACI, right? And you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna set expectations right now.
So let me challenge you a little bit. So let's say I'm pretty senior, right? I'm VP of marketing, right? And I'm usually just telling people what to do, right? And I'm like, Rachel, that's for the lower people. I'm just gonna dictate to my team, you will go do this, right? Why should I not do that?
You should not be doing that. Because guess what? A leader on the other side of the organization might be starting their own initiative and spending dollars over there, and you were unaware of that. And now you're going to go start your own pilot with a new tech, and you're going to go months and months of trying it, and you're so exciting.
Right.
And then somebody from procurement or legal or finance is going to come and say, nope, you didn't come to us first, and therefore someone over there already piloted a similar tool, and now you have to use that, or you have to go back and assess that tool through an RFP process.
Right.
You really want to avoid that.
Right.
You want to avoid disruption to your momentum for your team, for the people involved.
Right. So even if I'm VP marketing, I got what about VP finance?
Right.
Right. What about I don't know, whoever owns IT?
Yep.
Right. Maybe I'm pushing my team to do something, but they may have something on the initiative. That's
Correct.
a great point.
So just do a gut check
Right.
on, did you notify all the right people? Okay, that may be a barrier or a dependent person in this process downstream.
Sure.
Yeah, do a gut check. Make
Okay.
sure you have them all identified. Make sure you've at least sent them an email that say, hey,
I'm
checking
doing
this box,
something.
I'm
Right,
doing this,
Right.
heads up,
Right.
I'll be sending you another email in a month letting you know how it's going.
Right. And that's so helpful because if I am the VP marketing and I'm gonna have to go ask the VP finance for some money, right? It's kind of nice to know, hey, if I'm the VP finance, right, kind of switching roles, for someone who's coming to me and say, hey, I need $1 million to go scale this amazing thing, and it's the first I've ever heard of it. Versus maybe 3 months ago, hey, just letting you know ahead of time, we're trying this out, love your input, I'm gonna come talk to you. Then say, oh, how did it go, right?
Yeah.
So I think even just thinking about it from a standpoint of, I might need to go ask these people for something later on, engaging them up front. And that's how I won't be somebody tell me about something ahead of time.
Right.
That's really cool.
And you're not taking up too much of their time, you're not
Right.
asking them for their time, you're just informing them, giving them a heads up.
I really love that point because I think it's not necessarily you're asking them to come help with the project. Right. So you're not saying, hey, I want you to set aside an hour of your day every week to go help me with it, but rather it could just be an inform, right? So they're not surprised.
Right.
That's really good. Okay, so to summarize then, I heard you say, you know, you got to gather the right people, right? And then you have to kind of communicate with them differently based on what their roles are. Some might just be, hey, it's an email. Others maybe you're having a meeting with and bringing them in more. All right, cool, that makes sense. So that's planning. All right, and the next stage you said was now we're maybe I've done all that and now I'm starting to roll, right?
Yeah.
So what do I have to think about about people in that sort of execution pilot, right? We're doing stuff, right? What do I think about in that stage?
Yep. So the rubber hits the road, right? Like, let's see if this thing actually works and if our people like it. If they're going to change behavior and they're going to change their habits to start incorporating this new technology in their day-to-day, right? So that the business can see the value and the benefits at the end of the day. I would say number one is, for leaders everywhere, people leaders everywhere, be flexible with your team. So whoever's been
flexible. I like that.
Whoever's been identified to be part of this pilot group, and use the AI, they may need different levels of support along the way. Okay, and everybody.
So no one size fits all.
No.
Okay.
And we all want fast adoption of technology, right?
Sure.
Especially with AI that has a lot of promise.
Sure.
How quickly can we adapt and change behavior and really operationalize our new way of working here? Can we do that as quickly as possible? One thing that's going to help you get there is to be flexible. So notice some team members may be super comfortable with the AI. They may get it right away.
Maybe they got a tech background, or they like new things.
Or they're excited about it a little bit more. They're not afraid. They understand more. They're a little bit more educated. Whatever the reason is, they jump right in. They start to integrate the AI into their BAU, their business as usual, It's not disrupting their business as usual, which is very important. But they're figuring it out, and they're comfortable figuring it out, Like replacing a step they used to do with the assistant, doing it with them this time, Perfectly.
Almost like your ideal user.
Yes, yes, that would be ideal.
Sure.
Another option is for people that aren't as comfortable and maybe a little bit more afraid that they're going to break something or it's going to replace them, or just in general, they keep deprioritizing it for whatever reason. They think it's going to disrupt their business as usual, and they're just trying to stay afloat with the work they already have.
They were already overwhelmed before this AI thing came down the pipe from leadership, and how am I going to fit this in?
Or they're being asked to do other pilots at the same time. That's very common too. So we have to really be flexible and empathetic with the team that we're asking.
I love that word, empathetic.
To use this and evaluate it and report up the feedback, That also takes time. So you just want to provide opportunities and environments and like a safe space to support all those different types of people. And to me, what I've seen works really well is you start off with just a standard weekly working session, And you know what? The people that jumped right in and are comfortable, maybe they attend, maybe they don't, but it's really awesome to see when the people that aren't as proactive, when they start joining the working sessions every week, they start to use that as their designated time to use the tool.
So it's a low ask. It's sort of like, hey, show up this working session. If you are the power user, the champion, you can expand beyond that and do all that stuff. But if you're a little nervous, hey, you just have this low ask. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Like sort of
Yes. And I would be very deliberate with how you name that working session. So based on your culture and how you work and the comfort level of your team, also like your just language within your organization, what you typically call things, Like may have different connotations. So the word office hours, the name matters of that meeting. The name office hours may just culturally mean to people it's optional. I'm never really gonna go. I'm gonna accept, but I always conflate last minute.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Versus like a working session. Okay,
I'm gonna be active.
I'm gonna do something, or I'm gonna watch somebody do something. I'm gonna learn something. It's different.
All the little details are so incredibly important. That's so interesting. The name of the meeting. Wow.
And we see it a lot. We see people starting off naming it office hours and then switching it, making it optional, making it required, maybe booking multiple times throughout the week and saying you just have to go to at least one session.
That flexibility theme again.
It's all flexibility. At the end of the day, you want people in the tool. If you don't have people using the AI, using the assistant, you can't collect the data you need to make a decision, to inform that initial group, to allow for the decision.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I would just say, lastly, the biggest benefit of being flexible is like making this a positive experience for people. I mean, they want I like to look at it as fun. I mean, work is like where you spend majority of your time. Make it enjoyable, even if they're not loving the AI in particular, Like, oh, it's not really saving me time, or it's not really helping with these pain points, but I really enjoyed doing these working sessions with my team. It brought me closer with those people. I didn't see them all week, but that's the time I see them.
We're learning together, we're trying something
together.
together.
Getting more FaceTime with certain leaders, or I'm getting more, like there's a lot more to this pilot than just like proving the tech. It's also how the tech is allowing your team to be happier and have a better work experience overall, and how they're getting support and led.
Wow.
So it's really important.
Yeah, and particularly for someone like me who's more technical, I think that can be the element that would never necessarily thought about. Like, this is not just about trying the tech or proving the tech, but at the same time, how am I even strengthening my team through this pilot, so that whatever we do with the tech, the team is gelling more, they're feeling more connected, they're feeling more listened to by leadership. Leadership is giving them options, a way of engaging. I think that's really powerful.
And you also have a framework now going forward, right?
Right, you can apply that. Yeah.
You have another AI, you have an upgrade to the AI, you have a new integration.
Right.
Anytime you have a change in behavior or a new
it creates a culture.
It creates the culture, and now you know how to do it, and you know what terminology to use for the meeting, and you know how the cadence works, and you know how important peer-to-peer storytelling is, or show and tell is.
Wow.
Like, you just start to learn what techniques work and better than others, and you can do that next time.
That sounds really cool. You should write a change management book. That was awesome.
Maybe. One time.
We have some time, right? All right. So we talked about sort of the planning phase, right? And pilot phase, being flexible. Really, that was really cool. Empathy. Okay. So let's say I have my pilot, right? And now I've gotten some good results. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I've hit my endpoints, right? And I know what I want to do, and I need to then scale this from maybe my team, or maybe 2 teams, 1 brand, 2 brands. And now I'm thinking, hey, I want to go company-wide, right? Like, that's a whole different, how do you be empathetic when you're talking thousands of people, right? Like, how does that work? Like, well, what do we have to think about in that stage?
Yeah, definitely. I would say one tactic that I love to implement is a change agent network.
Okay, break that down. What is that? Change agent network.
So you could call them super users, you can call them power users. At the end of the day, it's the people that are doing the job that requires the assist, right? That's
doing the job that requires assist.
Yes.
Isn't that everybody?
If the AI is going to be implemented across your organization for a particular set of roles, let's say, it could be just them, right? Sometimes, yes, it's everybody. But if it's just meant for copywriters and editors and reviewers, like, it's that group, right? So it's the primary stakeholders. Okay, the primary stakeholders, the users.
At the
user
level,
users.
right.
Yes, at the user level.
Sure.
You identify a point person to represent each of those groups of users. So if it's a cross-functional tool that's being used, and which most of them are, you want to maximize your return, so get as many people across the different business units and functional areas to leverage it. You might have someone representing the copywriters, someone representing the reviewers, someone representing a different part of the organization, and you gather them together, the 1 or 2, however big your organization, you can pick that ratio. And
am I doing this before we're scaling, or we're saying we've launched it and then we're kind of collecting these people?
It doesn't take very long. It's usually people that participated in the pilot that can just quickly ramp
kind of roll from this into this kind of leadership opportunity. Okay.
You guys are most familiar with it. You're the first group to use it.
Right.
Let's have you now engage with the other people on your teams that weren't part of the pilot, and maybe bi-weekly in the beginning, and then maybe monthly moving forward. After that, you get together those reps, right? Those user representatives, and you allow a safe space for candid feedback. So
candid feedback.
Candid feedback.
Okay.
Be as open as possible. Be honest.
Be a good listener, it sounds like.
Be a good listener. Be honest. Share positives. Share negatives.
Right.
Share confusion points. Share ideas to make things better.
Right.
Share ideas for things that should stay the same. Share ideas not just about the tech, but about the process, or about how people are being measured, against it. You're going to be learning a lot in those first, I'd say, 3 to 6 months of scaling. You want to have a process in place to funnel up feedback from the users. You want to always have a pulse on your people, right?
What's going on?
Pulse on the people. Identify what are those leading indicators. How do you get ahead of that from creating churn and a dip in adoption, right? You don't want to have that drop.
Mhm.
Okay, you want people continuously to use the AI assistants more and more and more, right?
Got it.
So you listen,
Right.
and you identify those leading indicators, and you say, let's get ahead of that. Okay, this is a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks in a row, I'm hearing confusions around
Yeah.
this particular
Right.
button or
Right.
step.
Mm.
Let's give more training on that.
Mm. So it's you're getting the feedback, and then there's action plans
Yes.
that are coming out of that feedback.
Exactly. So you first put in place the change agent network, the network of users who represent each primary user group.
Right. And your pilot
And
folks might be
then-
playing with some pretty key lead roles in that. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And then once you establish that network, you have a process for meeting, right?
Mhm.
You have that cadence and when you're going to meet and for how long.
Mhm.
And then you have a process for deciding,
Mhm.
you know, what you're going to take action on
Yeah.
based on that feedback.
You know what's interesting about this phase is I'm hearing a lot more structure, right? Maybe a little less flexibility in this phase than in the pilot. Is that correct?
Yeah, you still want to empower your people to use it and learn their own ways to integrate it in their day-to-day.
Sure.
You don't want to micromanage anybody.
Right.
You just want to keep a pulse on, like I said, observe any patterns, get
Okay.
ahead of anything that could be
Right.
potentially a negative impact on utilization.
Okay.
Get ahead of that.
Cool. And how long am I doing this, right? So is it 3 months, 6 months, a year? Like how long am I sort of,
Yeah.
from a leadership standpoint, am I making sure there's a change management network, there's action plans? That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah. So I would say in the first 3-4 months, you probably should meet bi-weekly with this network.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And
Every other week we're
Mhm.
pulling people in, we're really listening.
just to collect enough data that you can start to see patterns,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And you can feed that information to leadership.
Mm.
So in that first quarter, let's say,
Mm.
the leaders across the organization are able to tweak their messaging
Mm.
and how they articulate the value prop
Yeah.
at the org level
Yeah.
and at the individual level
Yeah.
to make sure they're focusing the value on the right things that'll resonate with the people. And also to make sure all the leaders are messaging in a consistent way.
Mm.
No one's saying
Consistency.
something over here
Yeah.
and another message is
Right.
being said over here.
Right. So the leaders have to be on
Consistent
the same page.
messaging.
Right.
Yes.
Mm.
That is so critical.
Mm.
You don't want to cause confusion or rumors in the organization,
Right.
especially in the first couple months.
Right.
So you set that network, you communicate consistently across the leadership,
Mhm.
and then probably after month 4, you start to meet monthly.
Okay. So you
And
can dial
then-
it back.
mhm.
And are there indicators that I'm looking for to know when I should dial it back? Because I'm assuming if things are really not going well, maybe I want to keep that going a little longer. Versus, I think we're looking pretty good. So
Yeah.
what am I looking for to say, hey, I think we can dial it back versus maybe we need to do more? Or what do you look for?
I think once you start hearing the same things over and you know
Okay,
what I mean?
okay,
Like,
okay. You're
you've
not learning new
addressed,
things. Okay,
you've
sure.
addressed everything you've heard. There's
Okay.
not much to address anymore.
Got it.
Your
okay.
tactics are working. People
Mm.
are familiar. They're comfortable.
Mm.
The numbers, you're seeing results in the tool. So like that's another thing you're looking at.
Okay.
You're measuring your KPIs to make sure like you're seeing what
The
you
tool's
expected.
working, it's doing, yeah.
And then, you're asking people like, how's it going? You're asking that network, like, how do you feel? Do you
Mm.
still think we need this? Does your team need this as a
Mm.
support?
That's a good
Do
I
we
love
need
that question,
to
yeah.
Do we need to share more stories for everybody on like use cases or
Because they're on the ground,
success?
they know what's going on.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. You're influenced by your peers too.
Right.
So like
Mm.
you don't want to lose that part, right?
Sure.
You still want to share the wins. It's not all about the negatives
Mhm.
or like the
Yeah.
improvement opportunities.
Right.
So you want to keep it going long enough to like keep getting more of the wins and
Mhm.
sharing those wins.
Got it.
And
Okay.
then once that starts to plateau a little bit, you have a transition, probably around 9-10 months.
Okay.
You transition a handoff to some sort of innovation group. So
Okay. What do you mean by that?
most of the time, organizations will have like a center of excellence of innovation or an innovation hub or
Okay.
a group that leads strategy and innovation,
Okay.
right? It's like more of an internal group that collects ideas from across.
Just generally.
Generally,
Okay.
any opportunities across the org to innovate, to either improve internal efficiencies that people experiences, or for directly for
What
like
if
customers.
what if my company doesn't have a group like that?
I would suggest finding a consultant to support and advising you on how to stand that up.
Okay, it's that important.
It's that important.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's important about having that group, and what exactly is the role post sort of my more change agent network process?
Yeah, it's to keep a continuous pipeline of ideas for.
Okay. So someone's always listening.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
And it's just that pipeline, right? That you're consistently prioritizing that backlog of ideas and deciding what is most important for the organization to move forward going forward based on your goals.
Right.
Is your goal this year going to be efficiencies, cost savings, improve that shareholder value, whatever your goal is? That innovation group is one lever you can pull to go look at that backlog of ideas and say, okay, which programs did we collect over the last 6 months or so that could really move the needle for us in that area?
Yeah, because people are always coming up with ideas and ways of working, and you kind of want to have a place for that to land. I like that. That makes sense.
And if your company has a product, and it could be around R&D, it could be around product development, and you have a team that has a ton of turnover, and that's costing your organization a lot to hire new people and train new people.
Sure.
Anywhere across the organization. And you know what? The AI could probably be really helpful for a variety of those problems. It could be.
But if you aren't listening, you don't have a way of knowing that or servicing that up. Okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, so you kind of just hand it off, and then you say, oh, what can we do?
It's just baked into the sauce of the company, right? And how we're operating. That's really cool. That's awesome. I mean, I love the kind of thinking differently about the people of the different stages. I think that's a really helpful framing. Anything else to add about how to manage people while you're trying AI? Any final thoughts? Pearls of wisdom?
I always like to think of it as like how leaders of teams can relate to their teams. Okay, like I love to find ways to connect with others that I'm working with, that I'm working for, that are working for me. I love to find connection points and relate, and that automatically
those relationships.
But it also like helps you be empathetic in the situations that require you to have more empathy than other times, right? You're able to have that empathy for that person in those times that are stressful or unknown or uncomfortable. And you just have that ability if you're already setting that relationship with those people and finding those ways to connect and relate.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, well, you heard it from the expert herself, Rachel Kane, how to manage people when trying AI across the starting, when you're planning, piloting, scaling. Awesome. Thank you again, Rachel. And if you want to learn more about Lithero, check us out, lithero.com, or shoot us an email, hello@lithero.com. Thank you for listening, and hope you were doing a great job of managing your people when trying AI. Talk to you later.